Hi, this is Aviva. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a while, but today's episode is going to be really interesting. And I'm going to be answering the question as honestly as I can. And the question is the Canadian dream still applicable, or does it still exist? Okay, so we're going to really unpack that today to prepare you for, if you're thinking of coming to Canada, this video is for you. It's to prepare you. Okay, facts are very needed in making your decision to move abroad. So let's get started. Just a couple of hours ago, a friend of mine sent me a video, and it was about an influencer in Nigeria was interviewing someone who had just relocated back to Nigeria. And this person said, oh, they were in Canada for close to a year, in Calgary, in Alberta. It's not really what everybody talked about. He didn't enjoy it. Things were expensive. People are not happy, etc. And so he moved back to Nigeria. He moved back to Nigeria. And it really cracked me up because I had been preparing for this episode for quite a while. And also the fact that he had a few points. Okay. The truth is, the Canadian dream, as we knew it, doesn't exist anymore. Okay, but before I get into it, let's even define what the Canadian dream is. If you Google or you ask people, the general school of thought is the Canadian dream is that, that belief that regardless of your race, your color, your pedigree, your educational background, you can move to Canada, relocate to Canada, Canada is one of those countries that it's very open in terms of immigration. Well, used to be. Canada is changing. That's what we're talking about today. But regardless, you could move, work hard or study, get a job, and live a comfortable life. Comfortable in the sense that after a couple of years of working, you'll be able to afford a house. Your children will be able to attend good public schools. And, you'll just be in a safe environment. So for a lot of people, that is the Canadian dream. Or you come, start a business, get your work permit, get your permanent residency, ultimately your citizenship. That was kind of like the Canadian dream. So when we were moving in 2019, over 5 years ago, that was what the Canadian dream was. But unfortunately, it's no longer the same. Things have really changed, especially in Canada. One of the ways things have changed is in terms of study permit. Now, a couple of years ago, I probably did videos and I would have told international students, if you're thinking of relocating abroad to study, consider Canada. Don't consider the UK. I think I did a video like that. Consider Canada. You have the choice of Canada, South Africa, the US, New Zealand, Australia, but come to Canada because the opportunities are plenty. You'll be able to work. After working, you'll be able to get your postgraduate work permit, which is really important. You start working, you get your work permit, then your permanent residency, and then ultimately your citizenship. That is the goal. Let us be honest. I know international students that came to Canada and in 6-7 years have gotten their citizenship. They first got their PGWP, then work permit, then those systems were in place. And if you tick all the boxes, in 7 years you can, depending on which program you come to study. But that is no longer the case. That was the advantage Canada had over the US, over the UK. No longer the case. Immigration has really changed all around the world. Canada is no exception. If you've been following the news, you know right now that as an international student, if you are coming to Canada, it's no longer business as usual. Yes, you'll be allowed to come and study, but getting your postgraduate work permit, it's no longer going to be as straightforward as it was. It's not going to be automatic. And for a lot of people, that was the catch. But that's no longer the case. Okay, now you have to be studying certain courses. Your program, the duration has to be for a couple of years. It's not automatic anymore. And lately, a lot of international students that are here in Canada have had to return home to their home country because they couldn't get their postgraduate work permit, which was the ultimate catch. So again, if we're going back to the question, does the Canadian dream still exist? If this was one of the criteria for the Canadian dream, then I guess it doesn't exist. So if you're an international student, you want to relocate, you want to come and study in Canada in 2025, then you really, really need to consider your options. You need to consider what you're studying, where you want to study, the duration of your course. If not, what is going to happen is you're going to pay tens of thousands of Canadian dollars. Yes, you'll be getting world-class education, but at the end of your study, you'll be returning home, which is, let's call it what it is. That is not why people come and study in Canada. Let's just be honest. Another reason why a lot of people will tell you that the Canadian dream does not exist anymore is because it is no longer business as usual in Canada. Things have changed. The prices, oh my goodness, of everything has increased. Okay, so back in the day, I remember when we were moving to the beautiful province of Nova Scotia, the general gist was when you come as a permanent resident in 2, 3, or 4 years, you'll be able to purchase a house, you know, based on the price index at that time, the cost of housing and everything. Now, except you're coming with millions from your home country, that is not the case. The price of housing has gone up, rent has gone up. In fact, one of the reasons why Canada is reducing the number of immigrants it's going to be welcoming in 2025 and 2026 is because there's a housing crisis. Believe it or not, in Canada, there is a housing crisis. I hear of stories in Ontario whereby you have 4, 5 international students in a 1-bedroom. Sometimes they even have the money. It's just there's no availability. So it's like there's been an influx of immigrants, which is good, but then it's like the country was not ready for the growth. So what happens in the case of supply and demand? Demand is high, supply is low, and what happens is that prices then become extremely high, ridiculously high. I think I've spoken about this before. When we moved 5 years ago, you could buy a decent 3-bed apartment, 3-bedroom, semi-detached or a townhouse, 2.5 bath for about 200,000 in a good neighborhood. Now in that same neighborhood, you need about 500,000 Canadian dollars. Let's not even get started on rent. Let's not even get started. So immigrants are coming, the complaints, as an international student, you're already paying tens of thousands for fees, you know, for groceries, and then you also have to pay an exorbitant amount on rent so you can have somewhere to sleep and be comfortable. So with that in mind, a lot of people have argued that the Canadian, it's no longer business as usual. Canada has a really low retention rate, and you'll hear a lot of people, Canadians alike, immigrants, moving. A lot are moving to our neighbors. Are they in the south now or in the north? Down south to America. People are going back to their home country because the excitement, the joy, the dream that was promised or that people heard about is no longer happening. And if you ask me if the Canadian dream still exists, I'll tell you, no, I don't think so. From 5 years to now, I think I can do a fair comparison. No. I see people that come in to the country now and they're like, Habiba, I watched your videos 3 years ago. This is not what we're experiencing right now. And I'm like, yes, things have changed. In the span of less than a year or two, there was like a 180. We can see that with the way immigration is changing. We can see that with the way the policies are changing. No longer business as usual. And so my recommendation is, you want to come to Canada, you tick all the boxes, you meet the criteria, sure. Just be ready. Okay? And if you are an international student, again, it's very important to consider the program of study and the duration, so that when you finish, you're not part of the people that have to leave because you don't get a postgraduate work permit or you don't get a job and then you have to leave the country. Right now, a lot of people are filing for asylum because they don't want to leave. International students as well. That's not really the way to go. So food for thought. Okay, this is real food for thought. But the immigration terrain has changed all around the world. If you keep up with the news in the US, in the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, it's changed. Don't know if it's ever gonna go back to the way it was, but Canada is no different. Canada is closing its borders. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, has done a lot of videos to say Canada is closing its borders. Some of the premiers, the ministers in some provinces have actually said moving forward, it's going to be Canadians first before anybody else. Just the way it is. Okay, so this video is not to scare you, but to prepare you. If you have any questions regarding this, you can always drop a question in the comment section, and I'll respond when I can. Or you can follow me on Instagram, send me a message at Biba's Canadian Journey. Until next time, take care, keep watching Biba's Canadian Journey. Thank you.